Hello, friends. Okay, so now I'm just making a little Helldivers 2 tip video, and I'm just gonna do it in this little thing. We can go ahead and watch the ships as they come in and shoot at stuff, just because it's easier that way. And yeah, I'm not really great at editing, so yeah, I hope you guys don't mind it. But basically, as a new player, I kind of collected a lot of tips and tricks as I played. As you can see, I'm only level 5. But from what I've come and like watching videos and stuff and doing all that, I've come up with tips that I genuinely find useful, at least for me. So we'll just go ahead and get into those. And like a lot of them have to do with like weapons and stuff like that. But it's just all about Helldivers too. So if you guys enjoy the video, please like it or share it with your friends. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into this. So, first tip that I have is use every single one of the weapons. Now, what I'm meaning by that is whenever you shoot your primary weapon and you run out of ammo and you're in a really sticky situation, you need to swap to your pistol instead of reloading. The pistol is a lot better than you guys think it is. That's the thing that a lot of people really just completely overshadow, is that pistol. It does amazing things when you use it, and especially if you can hit weak spots with it. It shreds, so keep that in mind. If you're low on ammo, or if you don't have the time to reload, you can always swap to your pistol and absolutely decimate everything. Right? Okay, so now the next tip that I have is reload only when fully empty. Whenever you're shooting a weapon and you're down, it's kind of like, you throw away a mag with half your ammo in it. You don't want to be doing that. It's not Call of Duty. What you want to be doing is you want to be sitting there, you're going to be waiting, and basically just having a grand old time, just wasting the ammo in your magazine, dumping it into the enemies. You dump all your ammo, you can't shoot anymore, so then you reload. That's your whole goal. And if you watch on the left side of the screen, there will be a little magazine that shows you when your weapon's empty. It'll go red, and it'll show that there's no like a little white filling in that magazine anymore. Another tip for weapons is that you can middle mouse click whenever you're ADSing with them, and it will bring up the scope of your weapon. So that's super duper useful, especially whenever you're getting farther out distances. It's something that I didn't know for the first 4 levels. I found it just randomly while playing in a mission. So for those of you really, really beginning out, you guys really need to make sure that you're calling in the special weapons the second your boots touch the ground. You need to touch, so let's say you touch ground, the first thing that you do is you're going to hit alt or control, right? I have mine set to alt because control, you have to hold it and yada yada yada. But basically though, yeah, hit your control button, doing your things, place down your, well, basically whatever ordnance you have that brings you a weapon. So your machine guns, your heavy sniper rifles, your recoilless launchers, stuff like that. The next tip, of course, is just spread democracy. Now, one of the things that I have for the broods is actually that you need to take out their legs first. So the brood mothers or the brood queens, whatever they're called, take out the legs first and then take out their head, because they go into a frenzy whenever you kill out their head. So if you just stop by not taking their head out, take their legs out first, that basically targets, or well, it cancels out their little frenzy. So now another thing that you can do is, actually I can show you that here, and this is actually one of the reasons why I wanted to stay here, is that we can go and inspect weapons. So whenever you go and let's say you go to the armory, or not the store, but to the armory here, you can inspect the weapon. So you see the damage, the capacity, the recoil, the fire rate, stuff like that, right? So now all of that, like, that's some really, really important information, right? So the trait is light armor penetration. Now, this also light armor penetrating, but one-handed. Now, the cool thing about this being light armor penetrating is that it's not going to get through a lot of the armor, but it'll get through quite a bit of it. So I know for a fact I can use this on a lot of light targets, and I'll have to use something like my machine gun in order to get into heavy targets. So that is a really, really big thing to pay attention to as well. So, oh, excuse me. Every single weapon, regardless of its penetration, does have its pros and cons. I highly recommend for you starting off to use weapons that have heavy armor penetrating stat, like, or trait. The reason why is because you want to be able to take out every single thing that you can without having to swap weapons all the time and do all this crazy stuff, because as you're learning the game, you're not going to be thinking about doing all of that crap yet. So by doing that, just try out all the weapons, see which ones you want. Even if it is light armor penetrating, go ahead and try it. You can use it and see how it works. And then as you kind of get better and better at the game, you'll learn that, okay, yeah, I might have to use, an ordnance where I send down a laser beam or something like that, or you need to go ahead and use your 3 on the computer, at least, where, okay, yeah, so I'm going to pull out my machine gun and start shredding people because it has a high penetration and I have a brute in front of me or something like that. So, like, stuff like that. Now, another big thing that I really didn't realize at first was enemy patrols do call in reinforcements. So if you use your stratagems, like, to take them out, that's the best way to do it. Like, you want to be using something that has large AoEs, so like grenades, or if you're playing with buddies, you can all start shooting at the patrol together and take out the enemy patrol as quickly as possible, so then they don't call any backup, basically. So that's a really, really big goal to do on that point. So now the orbital laser, if you guys do have it, or if you do know how to get it, the orbital laser is basically broken in all automaton missions. So it destroys the automaton structures. So like their houses and stuff, you can just level out houses and kill the enemies inside with it as well. And that's a really easy way to take out automatons. The secondary objective on every single mission can't respawn because it has no respawn things as well. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it. So because it can't respawn, they can call reinforcements though. So if you want, you can always hot drop, go to the second objective, take out that second objective, make sure there's no, reinforcements called. After you take out that second objective, go to the first objective, and then do it that way. And it'll be a lot faster, especially in like Suicidal and all these other missions, because you have to worry about how fast you are being in these higher level missions, because it gets way too difficult. Now, another fun thing, like cheesy like that, is that illegal broadcasts can be taken out with grenades. A lot of them can. So keep that, in your little arsenal, because grenading these guys out is really, really helpful. It helps a metric crap ton. So the autocannon, also back to that, it can auto-destroy fabricator spawners. So by shooting the metal lid, you can ricochet a bullet from the lid down and into the spawn, killing everyone in that spawn. Basically killing the spawn. It stops them from spawning and all that. You know how it does, like with the normal ones, you throw a grenade in and it basically shuts the thing. Basically the exact same thing. It has a metal lid, you can ricochet the bullet off the metal lid and into the little pit, and you can basically kill down that spawn by using the autocannon. So keep that in mind. It's helped a lot. So the longer you are in the mission, the harder it is to basically do anything. The longer you're in a mission, the more enemies are going to spawn, the harder it's going to be to kill them. Like, it's going to be a lot more difficult because you're going to have so many more enemies. You got to make sure you're taking out every single spawn if you want to stay in past, like, the 50-minute mark and all that. So, always try your best to extract before that 50-minute mark, just because it truly does make a big difference. Stealth is also a very, very big thing. So, like, whenever you're taking out those patrols, you guys can all go prone. The enemy, as long as you're not in front of them, they will not spot you. So then you guys can get beside them, prone down, and then take them all out by getting super close. So that's really, really, really helpful. Now, so I mean, stealth, it's not really used too much in public lobbies, but know that it can be used. Now, another big thing is that the towers with the silver veins, a lot of people ignore them, but in reality, you need to go to them because they have some samples that you're going to need. They're like little floaty ball samples, basically, of silver. And you're going to need those later on, so make sure that if you see those little silver vein rocks, it's like a little, basically like a pedestal, like a little tower, and it has silver veins going all throughout it. You'll see those. Now, one of the biggest things, whenever you're down on, you got your boots on the ground, you're out hell diving, you need to make sure that you're watching out for spore mines. these spore mines are absolutely deadly. So on, like, basically if you're on like a red map, they're most likely going to glow red. If you're on a blue map, they're going to be like a blue or a whitish color. And these spores also can be used to kill the enemy. Keep that in mind. It's very helpful. So you can run through these spores and basically just ignore them while you have enemies running behind you, and those enemies behind you will set them off, a lot of the times killing them instead of killing you. Now, automaton ships can also be taken out before they land if you shoot the thrusters. So they have the 4 thrusters on them. I'm pretty sure you have to use rockets, but you can still take them out. That's absolutely awesome. Now, all one-handed weapons, so like my pistol, you know how it said the one-handed trait, basically all of those you can use, so SMGs as well, but any weapon with the one-handed trait you can use while carrying any one-handed OBJ or anything basically. So let's say that you have a ballistic shield. You can use your SMG because it's one-handed, or at least if it has that one-handed trait, you can use your SMG while using the ballistic shield. Now, another thing with one-handed weapons is that while you're running, you can blind fire behind you by continuing to run in a direction, looking behind you, and firing. So that is absolutely game-breaking when it comes to one-handed weapons. That literally makes or breaks them for me. So being able to blind fire behind you is awesome. Keep that in mind, because while you're running, being able to fire is basically you're still dishing out damage, and that's what matters. Now, chargers, back to them. Chargers can be led into solid surfaces to stun them for a second. And when it does stun them, what you can do is you can take out one of the front legs' armor plates. Now, when you take out those armor plates, it makes them super, super, super vulnerable. The reason why you want to do this is so you can take them out super quick, because then you can have your entire team shooting them in the leg instead of having to worry about shooting them in the butt and all that. Because they have so much armor, you know, it's kind of hard to get around sometimes. So now you can take, so that basically just make sure you're taking armor off of the legs and shooting the legs, because if you're able to take armor off of something, if you take it off of their head, a lot of the enemies go into a frenzy. So try not to do that. Now, you need to always make sure you're watching where you're spawning your buddies, but the pod is really, really awesome. So getting into our last tip, the pods can be used to kill enemies, especially heavily armored enemies. And if it doesn't one-shot them, it's at least going to do a metric crap ton of damage, if not break armor. So you need to make sure that you're keeping those out so that you're able to basically heck people up by landing on them with a pod. So make sure you're landing on those heavy enemies with pods in really sticky situations, just because like one pod can take out, like, 10, 15 enemies if they're close enough together. So keep that in mind. Please be safe. Make sure you're spreading democracy. I hope you enjoyed the video here. Have a wonderful time. And, well, bye-bye.